We're coming up on a month of the Apple Watch Ultra release. It's time for my honest extended review. Welcome everybody to Apple Insider. It is Andrew here, and the Apple Watch Ultra. This was released at the end of September, and technically it's been about 3 weeks or so of daily use with this watch. And it's about at that time that Apple's reality distortion field starts to fade, the marketing hype wears off, and you kind of see what is and isn't so important with daily use that doesn't get, brought out with a crash course couple weeks of a lot of new Apple products. So it's a good time to revisit the Apple Watch Ultra, the most expensive Apple Watch you can get this year, and see if the price tag is worth it, if the hype was real, and if this is still the best Apple Watch that you can get. So let's go ahead and dive into all the details. Rather than touching on every single new feature of the Apple Watch Ultra, I'm going to touch on the ones that made the most sense to me, the stuff I liked, and we'll end it with the stuff that I didn't like. Good things first. This wonderful new display. Technically, Apple Watch Ultra has a 49mm display. It's the largest screen on an Apple Watch. Additionally, it's also brighter, up to 2000 nits in outdoor brightness. And these have been very noticeable. It's much easier to type on the display. It's easier to see outside. It actually feels like an updated display when I'm using it. Beyond that, it also isn't nearly as big, bulbous, and chunky as it kind of looked in initial marketing pictures. When I put this on my wrist and comparing it, it doesn't feel that much different, but when I switch back to a 44mm or 45mm previous version of the Apple Watch, they do feel smaller and not as much screen real estate. So I have really been liking the new display. I don't think it's too big. I think it's a really, really good size, and I even like that new Wayfinder face a whole lot. 8 different complications that you can customize. It's a really useful face to have. So the screen on the Apple Watch Ultra, it's a big deal. That action button is also pretty helpful. You can do all these other things like splitting your segments inside of a triathlon. You can set it to start a specific workout. But for me, I just tied it into shortcuts. You can tie it into any shortcut you want, and it can run any sort of automation command that you have set up. And to me, it's just like a blank button that you can do anything you want with, and that just opens up so many possibilities. So I'm still tinkering with it. Sometimes I have it just launch the workout app, which is faster than going to my home screen and launching it that way, so I do like it for that, but I've been playing around with some shortcuts, and I want to find one that I really like to be able to program it there. There's a lot of different stuff that I do that could be improved by using that action button, and it makes me almost wish there was a second one. But the action button, it's really cool to have. Battery life so far has been top-notch, especially compared to previous versions of the Apple Watch. If we're looking at third-party smartwatches, those things can last upwards of a week, easily. And the Apple Watch was making it through a day. Like, at most, you're making it through the day. So Apple had some ground to pick up here, and with the Apple Watch Ultra, you were essentially promised double the battery life, and I'm seeing at least that. So for me, in my testing, like one day I woke up right at 7 a.m., took it off the charger, full charge. I made it through the entire day, went to sleep probably a little after midnight, woke up the next day 7 a.m., wore this to sleep in, used the sleep tracking, went through the entire next day, and it wasn't until that evening, getting into bed at like 10 o'clock or something like that, that I was getting the alerts that it's below 10% of the battery life and I should charge it again. So I threw it on the charger, topped it off as I'm getting ready for bed and showering and everything, and it uses fast charge, so it charges pretty quickly, and I was ready to wear it through the night again. So essentially 2 full days of use. I was getting out of this thing, a workout thrown in there, not a problem. Battery life is so much nicer on it. You're not getting a week out of it, but it's definite an improvement. Additionally, the improved optimized low power mode for Apple Watch Ultra is coming, and you should be able to get like 60 hours with certain things disabled, like the always on display. So for like a whole weekend, you could be good to go, especially if you don't use it for actual sleep tracking. This band is Apple's Alpine Loop, and I like it. This is probably my favorite of the new bands. I have it in 2 different colors, so I do have the green one here. It matches. I'm apparently liking the green lately. But it also comes in like an orange color. There's a couple other options. These are really neat. They're very comfortable. They're easy to put on and off. They're water resistant, super great. I wonder how they do hold up over time because you are sliding this loop into those spots each time, and I wonder how that's going to age, but so far, not a problem at all. Also has that nice premium hardware because it's the titanium pieces that go with the Apple Watch. All great benefits here. The other one I like is the Ocean Band. Very nice. We'll talk about diving, but I'm excited to test this one out more in that aspect. But the new bands are great. But it isn't just about these new bands. It's about the fact that this Apple Watch also, even though it's a new size, will still work with all of the older bands. So I'm pulling out things like older versions of like the leather link, even like 42 millimeter bands from like the original, the OG Apple Watch. They're still fitting on this model, even if they don't perfectly line up, but I like it. I think that's such a great thing is that you can buy this new version and still use bands that you got years and years ago with it. New band's great, backwards compatibility, probably even better. Finally, the price. Some people scoffed at this $800 price tag, but to me, it didn't seem bad at all. I mean, if we looked at that previous generation Apple Watch Series 7, you could get a titanium Apple Watch Series 7. Were there any other features to it? No, but it was still $800. This year, Apple essentially gave you the still titanium option, but added all these extra features. Double the battery life, the new screen, the larger screen, the action button, the siren, water resistance and dive computers, all this stuff they baked in there for the same price as the previous generation titanium Apple Watch. So in some ways, it feels like a bargain. It's still a lot for a smartwatch, don't get me wrong, but I think Apple put a lot of value in here, and compared to previous pricing breakdowns of Apple's smartwatch lineup, I'm not mad at this. You now have an updated version of the SE that's very affordable. We've got regular versions of the Apple Watch in both aluminum and stainless steel, and then this is the high end in titanium. So price, I was not appalled by any means. Some people are pushing this at over $1,000. I was not upset with this $800 or so price tag. Okay, while there's a lot of nice things about the Apple Watch Ultra, there's also some things that irk me. There definitely aren't. This is not a perfect Apple Watch by any means, and these are things that have bugged me so far in using it. And first of those things is the design. I like the new design. I do. I don't think it looks bad. I like the flat screen. It's reinforced, super rugged. I even like the titanium. The titanium feels great. But one, I can take or leave the color accents. Like the bright orange on the side, it does. I know they're going for a rugged, international orange, very bright. But for me, it's like a little too much. This doesn't look as classy. Like with the original Apple Watches, you could dress it up or dress it down depending on what you're doing, what bands you paired with it. And even pairing this with a leather band, it doesn't look quite as nice as a regular version of the Apple Watch or the stainless steel versions. They also don't even have a dark version of titanium, just the natural color titanium. I liked the darker color that Apple had offered previously. All of my lugs are for the black, and now nothing really perfectly matches the titanium option. I also keep inadvertently pressing the action button. For me, when I would go to press the side button or press the digital crown, I'd reach over and hold it like this, and I'd press the digital crown or I'd press the side button. But with the action button here, I end up squeezing that more often than not. So maybe it's just me needing to relearn how I control my watch. But again, it's been almost a month and I'm still pressing that action button all the time. Someone actually said it best, I think, on Twitter, and they said the reason Apple calls it the action button is how much action it gets being pressed all the time, even if not on purpose. And that's pretty accurate. I do press it on accident quite a bit, and I originally had it set for opening a dive, starting a dive underwater, but then when it would do that, it would lock my watch screen because it was underwater, and I had to hold the crown to stop it and then exit the mode, and it was a super hassle. So I'm still getting used to this, but I do press it more often than I mean to. I'm also having issues with the digital crown. Before I would kind of reach and roll over it, but now it's got that extra bar there, which makes it a little bit tough, so you can only roll right there on the top. I know the new knurling makes it easier to press with gloves on or roll with gloves on, and I get it. That makes sense. That's a very good thing, but it still just makes it a little bit harder to use for daily use because I hit that bar. When I'm trying to roll on the front, it's a very small space that you have to roll on. So just more relearning how the actual Apple Watch is working now. It's definitely better for gloves, but for daily use, it's a little annoying sometimes. The last thing is the temperature sensing. I'm a little underwhelmed. Not by its main primary feature, which is for women who are using the Apple Watch for cycle tracking. For that, it's great. It can provide additional insights and information, like days that you had likely ovulated retroactively. Super useful. But the other feature of the temperature tracking is just measuring it overnight and showing your deviation from your baseline. The most it does is just tells you, hey, you were plus or minus 2 from your baseline. That's it. It says it can be affected by different factors, like your quality of sleep or alcohol or sickness, anything like that. But it doesn't give you any actual readings of your temperature, can't even give you a ballpark number, just deviations from the baseline. And I just think that Apple could do a little bit more here with those temperature sensors. Now on the Ultra, the one big thing though that it does that I am excited about, gives you the water temperature while you're diving or swimming with the Apple Watch. I think that's pretty cool. There's an additional one in the face that can read that water temperature. I like that. I think that's a great use of this. Since I talked about water, that's the big new feature for Apple Watch that I personally am most excited about, even though I haven't got to test it out yet. That's scuba diving. The Oceanic Plus app isn't available, plus it's winter basically here in Ohio. I'm not going scuba diving at least until the spring, if not the summer, and I have a baby on the way, so again, less likely to be diving anytime in the immediate future, but I'm really excited to test that out. I hope you guys are following the channel, because as soon as I get to test the Apple Watch Ultra diving, I will for sure update all of you. There's some other features of the Apple Watch Ultra I didn't even get to test. Crash detection, the siren, even the backtrack capabilities. I hope I never really have to test any of these out, to be honest. There are all these health features that feels a little bit like insurance. You're protecting yourself in case something does happen. Sometimes you don't want to pay for those things, but it can be really useful. Apple Ultra still has everything else it does for your heart monitoring, for fall detection, all of that, plus these new benefits. I didn't get to test these out. I hope I never have to test these out, but I think it's nice that they're built into the watch. So what do you guys think? I'm a little bit torn on the Apple Watch Ultra. I don't regret the purchase. I kept it. I didn't return it, but I wish there was a few things that are different, and I think Apple might make some more tweaks when we get a second generation version of the Apple Watch Ultra. watchOS 9 is a great thing. The new hardware is great. I like the Apple Watch Ultra. There's a lot to love here, but I don't think it's the watch for everybody. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments or on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. Otherwise, stay tuned. Got a lot more videos coming your way.